Okay, so six-figure income from Airbnb, right? But here's the catch. No owning property. Sounds a little too good to be true, maybe. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah, it's definitely shaken things up a bit, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Getting into the real estate game without, well, the real estate
Mm-hmm.
could be less risky,
Yeah.
right? And way more flexible.
Right, right. And our source, who's been doing this a while, they call it, get this, rental arbitrage. It sounds way more complicated than it is, at least from how they lay it out in the stuff they gave us. Basically, you're leasing a place long term, then turning around and renting it short term on Airbnb.
Exactly. And the key for them was being totally upfront with the landlords. They offered guaranteed rent, even a little above market value, and promised to handle any minor repairs themselves.
So you become the dream tenant. Smart. But then they were really insistent about the furnishing, the photos, all that.
Yeah.
Is that just like Airbnb fluff, or is it really that
Oh,
crucial?
it's make or break, honestly.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. You're selling an experience, right? So those photos, the design, that's what people see first. It directly affects how much you can charge per night. It's a visual world out there, especially on Airbnb.
True, true. You only get one shot at a first impression, as they say. But okay, let's say you've nailed that part. Now you want to grow, but, and this is a big but for a lot of people, time is tight. How do you scale this thing when you're already busy?
That is the question, isn't it? And that's where this whole co-hosting thing comes in. Our source, they partnered up with hosts who were in that exact spot, feeling overwhelmed. They took over everything, talking to guests, managing check-ins, even dealing with any problems that came up.
So they were like the guest experience superheroes. Makes sense. But what about the money side of it? What's the incentive for both people to do this?
Right, so our source, they usually took like 15–20% of the profits for the co-hosting, which, when you think about it, that's passive income for the owner and a solid income stream for the co-host without needing to buy a property.
Win-win. Okay, but it gets even more interesting because this source, they didn't stop there. They went on to manage multiple properties, which honestly, to me, that just sounds like a recipe for burnout. How did they pull that off?
They got smart about it. Instead of just doing the basic co-hosting, they started offering extra services, like they'd handle the cleaning, be a concierge service, you name it. And that did two things. Brought in more money per property, and it let them justify building a whole system for managing everything, like a mini hospitality empire.
Wow. So they upgraded their services, which then let them upgrade how they ran the whole thing. Did they say what kind of software they were using?
They didn't get into specifics, but they were
Mhm.
big on using tech and delegating tasks. So probably a mix of property management software, scheduling tools, communication platforms, all that to keep things running smoothly.
Work smarter, not harder, right? Okay, now I want to switch gears a bit because this source, they also got into this whole other way to make money, Airbnb experiences. And I'll be honest, when I hear Airbnb, I'm thinking places to stay, not, experiences.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people don't even know Airbnb does that.
Right.
But it's a huge opportunity, especially if you've got a certain skill set or you know your city really well. Our source, for example, they lived in a big tourist spot. So they offered guided tours, food experiences, even outdoor adventures.
See, that's so cool. It's like you're not just giving them a place to crash, you're curating their whole trip. Okay, but let's talk numbers. How much were they making from these experiences?
They said they were pulling in anywhere from 50 to $200 per experience. And on a really good day, they could make over $500. Not bad for sharing your passion, right?
500 bucks in a day. Okay, now I'm really listening. Did they talk about any challenges they ran into to get to that level?
Well, they did say it's tough to stand out, especially with the popular stuff. You got to make it unique, memorable. They really focused on amazing photos and writing descriptions that grab you, showing off their expertise and all.
Makes sense. It all comes back to that first impression, right?
Right.
Whether it's your property listing or your experience, you've got to hook them. Speaking of, I'm super curious about the automation side of things. They're managing properties, co-hosting, doing these experiences. How they avoid burning out.
Yeah, could have gone south fast. Our source, they were all about working smarter. One big thing was outsourcing the cleaning. Hired a pro service.
Sure, but isn't that going to eat into your profits? Wasn't that a concern for them?
They saw it more as an investment. See, consistent, top-notch cleaning. That meant great reviews, which let them charge a bit more A&D, get more bookings, like a positive feedback loop.
So true. Those little things add up. What about other automation stuff, aside from the cleaning?
Automating messages to guests, that was huge for them. They had systems set up for like common questions, booking confirmations, even check-in instructions, all on autopilot, freeing up their time.
So smart. Any tools they mentioned by name?
They didn't, but they did say they used a channel manager for managing listings on multiple platforms. So they could be on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com all at once, but controlled from one
The
place.
future is now.
Right.
Okay, now, this source, they also got superhost status, which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a big deal in the Airbnb world. It means consistently awesome reviews going above and beyond for guests, better visibility, all that. How'd they get there?
They were all about the guest experience. Little personalized things like making sure check-in was smooth, using smart locks so no key exchange hassle. They even made welcome baskets tailored to the guest.
Okay, what about tailored? How do they know what to put in there?
They were great at talking to guests beforehand. They'd send out a little questionnaire like celebrating anything special or dietary needs. Subtle, but then they'd use that to personalize the welcome baskets. Blew people away.
That's next level. I bet that made guests feel super special. What about reviews? I figured those were key to becoming a superhost. Did they talk about encouraging those?
Oh, absolutely. They knew good reviews were gold. They weren't pushy or anything, but they'd send a nice message after each stay, thank the guest, and gently ask for feedback.
Smart, smart. It's like they created this whole awesome experience from start to finish. But they didn't just stop there, did they? They took all this Airbnb knowledge and turned it into another way to make money altogether. Tell me about this consulting thing. So smart, right? Turn your knowledge into a whole new income stream. Who were they helping and what were they actually doing as a consultant?
Aspiring Airbnb hosts, mostly. People just starting out who were maybe a little in over their heads. Our source, they were like a mentor, helping them with their listings, pricing, all the ins and outs of using the platform.
Like an Airbnb Sherpa, guiding them to the top of the mountain. Okay, but let's talk money again, because I'm always curious about that. What were they charging for this consulting?
Between $100 and $200 an hour.
Wow, seriously.
Yeah, and it makes sense. People are willing to pay for expertise, especially when it can save them time and headaches down the road. Think about it. That's a small price to pay for avoiding potentially costly mistakes.
Totally worth it. It's inspiring, honestly, seeing how they took this one thing, Airbnb, and built all these income streams from it.
Right. Talk about spotting an opportunity and running with it. Rental arbitrage, co-hosting. Even those Airbnb experiences just goes to show you got to be creative, you got to be willing to adapt, and it helps to be passionate about what you're doing.
This has been amazing. We've gone way beyond just like the basics of listing a property.
That's what we do here, right? We go
Yeah.
deep. Unpack these strategies, these success stories, so our listeners can actually use them.
Exactly. If there's one thing I want people to take away, it's that this Airbnb thing, it's not just about having a spare room and some Wi-Fi.
Nope, it's a whole business. You got to create an experience, use tech to your advantage, and always be thinking, how can I stand out? Our source, they're proof that it pays off.
Speaking of standing out, and this is for everyone listening, close your eyes for a second, imagine. Your ideal Airbnb experience, whether you're the host, the guest, what does it look like?
Are we talking cozy cabin in the woods? Swanky downtown loft? What makes it special? Unforgettable.
Great question. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the wild world of unconventional Airbnb. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep diving deep.